Ah, hello. I'm Ed China, and I've just been musing about the fact that ever since the invention of the motor car, manufacturers from around the world have always been striving to come up with the most exhilarating, the most luxurious, the most attention-grabbing vehicles they possibly can. And some 20 years ago, I actually had a go at that myself, and I invented the original street-legal sofa car. Now, it is an interesting vehicle. I'm going to explain a bit more about it, but it is the casual loafer. It was very important for me to make sure that the public would be kept guessing. So I wanted to try and hide all of the controls, and particularly there are no pedals. Now the thing you actually steer the vehicle with is this pizza pan. Now originally it was a real pizza that was fresh every month or so, but unfortunately used to get nicked or would go mouldy. So we've ended up with a slightly more fake one here, but it looks very good at the moment, even if it's a bit dirty. Now when it comes to pedals, as I say, I haven't got any at all, but the throttle pedal is actually controlled by your knee. Now the idea behind that is obviously it's very easy and casual to do with almost anybody not noticing what's going on, but at the same time you can do that while your foot is up as well, so very relaxing. Now, it is an automatic gearbox, but you still have to choose what gear you're going to be in. So for that, we have a Turkish delight bar, because of course, having a laugh is dodgy rhyming slang, just like the casual loafer is for sofa. Now, for the brakes, it's a foot brake, but of course it's operated with your hand, and that is the drinks can right here. So when I pull on this, obviously I'm operating the brakes. But what's interesting, I have a kind of a fly-off handbrake, just like those early sports cars. So I've now got a handbrake, but then just to leave, I just do that. Wonderful. Now it's based very loosely on a classic Mini 1275cc petrol engine with an automatic gearbox. Now slightly unconventionally right from the start, I've actually got a front subframe in the back of the car, so it's technically mid-mounted, which is very sporty traditionally. I've also got another front subframe from a Mini in the front of the vehicle right underneath me, which has been slightly narrowed so I can get those wheels into the body of the car. Now when it comes to all the switches to operate the sofa, they're also hidden rather cleverly in the armrest just here. Now there's a row of switches. The very back one operates the fan, just in case things get really, really hot in the engine bay. Then you've got the lights, a few other little bits and pieces, and then of course at the very front we have the starter, and just behind that the ignition, so I can start it like so. So that's ready to go, and of course being street legal, you do have seat belts, very important, but perhaps even more important than that, of course, is going to be some eye protection. That way I can go incognito and I won't go blind all the insects. Right, here we go. Now it's wonderful being out in the countryside. The smells, the sights, the sounds are all so much more visceral. It really is what the sofa is all about. You know, this is the way to experience the planet. I mean, look at the views you get to see, but you're actually in them, you're part of them, because there's no restrictions to your view. It's a wonderful way to see the world. Like any good quality sofa, the covers are changeable, removable, and of course machine washable. This particular fur is made out of a nylon monofilament fibre, which although when it gets wet, will actually dry very quickly, and the faster you drive, the quicker it will dry. Very handy. As part of being street legal, of course I need to know what speed I'm doing, and so I've actually hidden the standard Mini Speedo in this little clock here on the coffee table. Now it's quite fun, it obviously gives me an idea what fuel I've got as well, and of course whether my lights are on and off. But the interesting thing is, I set the world record for fastest furniture about 20 years ago, about 1998 it was, at 87 miles an hour at the Goodwood circuit, whizzing around, and of course they've got all their little speed cameras there, and that's how Guinness World Records actually found out about this amazing contraption. Now the interesting thing is that since that time I've actually had a couple of challenges. In fact, I've actually now lost the world record. So we now have somebody with the fastest sofa record at 101 miles an hour, and the fastest furniture record is now 117 miles an hour. So really, I need to start upping my game. Now the casual loafer has been on the road for nearly 20 years, and you can imagine after all that time there is a whole heap of things I would love to do to improve this vehicle. One of those things is potentially even put it into production, if anybody would buy it, let's face it. But the very first thing I could do with changing is actually the fact that because I store this for much of the year these days, during the winter particularly, when it comes to the spring, I want to actually get the car out and go for a drive. Obviously, being automatic, I can't bump start it, so the battery does need to be in tip-top condition. Now, obviously, I can leave it on charge and make sure that's going to be working, but another really useful thing would be a battery sense. Well, what is it? Well, I'll show you in a second. So this is our clever little battery sense. Now, what it does is actually monitor the voltage and the charge state of the battery on your car. It's got a little serial code on the back, and the idea is you actually put that into an app on your phone, and then that way your phone can actually monitor what's going on with the sense. And of course it does it over time, so you get a really good idea of exactly what's going on with your battery if there are any issues with it. Now, it's actually quite easy to fit. In fact, you can do it pretty much anywhere, and in this case with the sofa, I need a couple of tools. So the first thing I need to do is actually get to the battery. It's stored just down here on the wing. So I'm just going to relieve a little tiny bit of the fur. There's our high security little bolt just there. So I'm just going to undo that. Okay, so here we go, and voila, there we are. There is our trusty battery, which is fantastic. So ideally, this wants to go as close to the battery as you can in the location of the car, because what it's going to be measuring as well is the temperature, so it actually knows what's going on with the battery too. That helps you understand a little bit more about what's going on with the battery. So I'm actually going to just pop it around here, and all I have to do is connect a positive and negative lead to the positive and negative terminals of the battery. Simple as that. So before I go anywhere, it's quite nice to actually understand what's going on with our existing battery. So I'm just going to pull off the two terminals, like so. Quick release things make that much easier. I'm just going to have to put down to voltage, a little voltmeter, and then have a little look, see how we're doing. So we've got 13 volts, obviously we've just been for a drive, so as you'd expect the battery is in reasonable condition, but of course the problem is when you've left it for 6 months in storage somewhere, that might not always be the case. So first thing to do, I'm just literally very simply undo one of these terminals, maybe get rid of the cobwebs. Right, so just pop the screw through that little ring terminal there. Going to nip it up again. Make sure it's a good firm connection, like so. Now we do the same thing with the positive terminal, just make sure I can get that lead out of there. Okay, so I'm just going to undo the terminal again. These just open up in place, and that's now connected. And before I connect it, I'm just going to now stick it onto here. Now, as part of the kit, it's very handy, it comes with either 2 cable ties or a sticky pad. So if you look on the back, you can see you can actually feed the cable ties around the back and clamp it to anything that's convenient in the car. In this case, I'm actually going to use this surface here and the sticky pad. Very simply, just pop that onto there, like so. Lovely, which is good connection. And pop that there. Obviously it's lovely and clean in here, but that should be fine. Like so, and handily, of course, I can read the barcode on the top here, which is also great. And then I can now connect that up, and off we go. So all I have to do now is pair this with the phone app, and we're good to go. Right, so now I just grab my phone, I open the CTEK app. All I have to do now is just type in the last digits after the 4019. I just have to type in all the rest of those digits. It's a little bit long, but that's because obviously you can have loads and loads and loads of these. So you've got a big car collection, every single one of them can have a battery sensor on there, and then you're going to know the condition of everything that you've actually got in your collection, which is very handy. So then connect. So now the phone is actually going to be connecting with our battery sense device. I'm going to put on, I can choose my name, so I'm going to call this the supercar. In fact, I'm going to call it the casual loafer because that's actually its name. So now I'm just going to pop into the settings and I can actually turn on the temperature and the voltage. And we can also turn on if the battery status actually changes, quite critically, which is interesting too. And also if there's no data that's found. So I'm turning everything on, which is wonderful, so that's great. So now it's just updating. So now apparently I've already got 85% of my charge state. Obviously that's going to take a little longer to actually settle down. And if I look on here, I've got 12.64 volts and it's 30 degrees centigrade. So that's a pretty awesome way of actually finding out exactly what's going on with the battery. And I can do this any time. I just have to be in Bluetooth range and then I know exactly what's going on. So I can just wander around past the garage and I'll know that our loafer is good.